Hi everyone, my name's Jennifer Cross and I'm here with Dixie Andelin Forsyth and her husband, Dr. Robert Forsyth, for a feminine moment. And we are just discussing various topics, so I thought I would ask them both about some questions I get a lot from not only my clients, but things I see on the big group. And one of the questions I get repeatedly is, in the beginning of the book, both your mother's book and the vintage edition, and also in the Fascinating Girl, it's if you ever, you begin to live FW and your husband is just happy and you guys are doing great, and then you're not a fascinating woman anymore. You kind of go back to the nagging, you go back to your old ways. He'll never really accept you any other way because FW is so powerful. And that can be, some women are hearing that and getting a little discouraged by that. So what would you say to them?
Well, okay, if you, should we use an analogy?
Sure.
How about this? How would you feel if you were used to, what's a good analogy? If you had a washing machine and then it worked, how about you were washing all your clothes on a scrub board. Then you got a hold of an electric washing machine and you had this one. How easy would it be harder to go back to a scrub board? Even if you only had a scrub board your whole life? So when you say he'll never be satisfied, he wasn't satisfied before. He was having you with the scrub board.
Good point.
So if you give him something better, it's human nature to say, I don't particularly, and now I noticed a huge difference.
Yeah.
Of course, he's not going to be as kind of resigned. It implies that he was happy before. He was more used to it, resigned.
Well, yeah, and if you're showing a more effective and less dysfunctional way of interacting with him, and then you kind of go back to a more dysfunctional way, of course he's going to be disappointed.
Well, not just that, it's going to be harder because he's gotten used to something better.
Well, he's hoping, hey, this is a better way to get along with each other. And if you kind of say, oh, to heck with it, I was just faking it and it didn't work, or I can't keep this up, that's just, to me, somebody who's maybe trying to pretend to do something, but they're not really making any sort of interchanges. They're not really changing. They're just trying to use a technique that they will be better than really making a real change. You can only change yourself. You can't change another person. So if you're pretending you're doing something, obviously you're probably not going to keep it up very long. It's called white-knuckling it. And yeah, sure, you're going to maybe not keep it up.
Well, there's another side of that coin, and that is something you taught me years ago, which really sunk in. It said, when you read something, you can read something and say, wow, that's really true. That's a good idea. But actually adapting that into your personality and as a habit takes much longer than understanding the truthfulness of it. So you got to also give yourself
time to succeed.
Time to succeed, yeah, because you say, oh, I did this for a while and then I slipped. Well, you haven't really effectively changed a habit yet, a bad habit.
It's like learning to play the piano. You don't just do that one time. You practice at it. You get better and better at it. And I think that's true with like Fascinating Womanhood principles. Really, they're good, sound psychological principles. And if you follow them and practice them, you'll get so they're more maybe second nature rather than just something you're trying to fake.
Yeah, because you're really trying to change your character.
Even something maybe you're not faking, but you're practicing, it becomes so that you don't have to practice. It's easy because it actually becomes a part of you. And I think your example of the piano was excellent because anyone who's ever tried something new, playing an instrument is a real classic example of that. Yeah. There's no way you can become good at anything, whether it's art, piano, writing, anything, unless you make tons of mistakes. And so we're not saying in Fascinating Womanhood that men are so picky that if you make a mistake, you're sunk forever. They've accepted crumbs for some of them their whole life.
And now they start to get a bit more of a real meal or a banquet, and they go, hey, this is great. And then if you offer them the crumbs again, it's crummy.
And
I like that.
if you say then you offer them crumbs in the next meal, you give them a banquet again, they'll be happy.
Yeah.
They'll be happy. You start
Perfect analogy. Thank you so much. That's
Well,
perfect.
if they can see that you're really trying to do something better because you care,
just apologize.
that's going to make a
That's
difference.
the thing. The character part comes in. We have to just apologize and be humble and that's what's hard in a way. It's just like,
You know, Jenny, humility is, and we talk about this in the new book, humility is a really underrated virtue.
it really is.
Because people think humility is groveling. It is not groveling.
It's not weakness. In fact, sometimes it's the strongest to be able to humbly stand down in a situation where it might be easier to blow up.
You say, it's too embarrassing for me to apologize. Humility, if you're humble and you say, you know, I'm really sorry that I did this. I recognize this, and this wasn't what I intended. It takes more strength to do that than to be defensive.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
I mean, the reason we know that is because we feel it, because we make so many errors. And Bob used to tell our kids, the difference between you and me is I've made way more mistakes than you.
But I learned from them.
Right.
At least most of them. Sometimes I do stuff over again.
I know.
Well, what would you say to someone who does have a hard time apologizing or admitting, you know, to her husband, hey, you know, I'm sorry, I handled that situation really badly.
That's a hard time. Practice it in front of the mirror. You know, you can, if it's hard for you to swallow the pride.
That's it.
Try it. I mean, practice it. It isn't actually painful.
It's not. In a way, it's a relief.
And you get good at it. You get really good.
And the results are wonderful.
But just make sure you're actually sincere.
Sincerity,
And you're not just saying, okay, I'll say I apologize, but really I'm mad that he doesn't accept this poor behavior of mine. It's not going to work too good. But
because we might as well go into the next question, because then these women, a lot of them it's confusing. So they say, well, then why is it always me who has to change? Why do I have to be the one? You know, if
I love that question.
Yeah.
We've been getting it for decades.
Yes.
It's been on talk shows and all I can say. The women will say, how come I have to? You don't. But women are, well, you say it, Bob. You say it better than I do.
Well, to me, women are more willing and sensitive and maybe even more cooperative in a situation, trying to make it better. Guys are not as friendly.
You can't even by yourself because you can't make them do it. And the reason they don't work out is more because by the time they figure out the relationship's in trouble, sometimes women are done. They don't know. They have a harder time putting words on it. Mm-hmm. Expressing it verbally, and women are less willing to put up with a mediocre relationship.
They want a better relationship, and so they often are looking. I find women are often, okay, what can I do? How can I make this better? What guys aren't always thinking about that. They're not so relationship oriented. They're more just kind of task oriented.
But they love a good relationship.
They love it. It's just they're not as sensitive to it. At least generally speaking, they're just more task oriented, and they don't think about it as much. And the fact that you do that, like Dixie will, she will sometimes, like, we don't have this everything's happy and perfect all the time. That's not the way this is. What we do is she will sometimes gently get after me for not being as sensitive maybe as I need to be about something. Sometimes get upset with her, and it's not really so much anger as more giving her feedback that sometimes she worries too much, or
sometimes
and sometimes I'll try to encourage her to, hey, we'll do it this way, but it's sort of my style, and I realize, okay, listen, I got to accept this. And she sometimes in a childlike way will let me know I'm pushing too hard. But other times she'll say, I gotta work on that. I need to deal with that. So we kind of negotiate. We don't have this master-slave relationship.
No.
We kind of work together and give each other feedback, and we are learning together, and we put many years in, and we've earned our good relationship.
Yes.
And people have to do that.
You got to earn it. It's so true.
But it's back to that original question about why do we
Yeah.
have to? Because we cannot control. Just forget about ever thinking about there's some technique out there where you can manipulate a man into having a great relationship. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Or he should do this,
So I'm
and
gonna
I should do
wait
this. I'll
until-
wait till he, that's
he does
ridiculous.
this,
It's not going to
then
happen.
I'll do this, and then it's not the way anything works well. It's just not. Just accept it. It's just the way it is. And the woman who said on that talk show to my mother, well, men, by golly, men should.
They should be making us number one
Well,
and
you know
treating
what?
us
She's 100% right, but there's nothing we can do.
to make that happen.
No, to
Well, and if he's
Yeah.
not, maybe he doesn't want to because of your terrible
Your
attitude.
attitude, yeah. Well, she may have an entitled, hey, I want everything my way, and I don't. Why should I have to do everything?
And that has nothing
get
to
into
do
a battle.
Right. And that has nothing to do, in my opinion, with male or female. Nobody likes that quality in a person.
Right.
No one likes to be someone's pet project. Nobody likes it. So there's another video we wanted to do quickly rather than run all these together that leads right into that with feminine power. So
Yes, let's do that. We will do that.
next
Thank you,
video,
guys.
feminine power. Okay.
Everybody watching, please like, comment, and share below, and we will be back with more. Thank you so much, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.